To add a resolution 2361 relative to a airport grant filing. If so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of 2361.
I'll introduce with addition of amendment.
Mr. Sellers, is there a second? Mr. Lynch. Any discussion on the motion? If there's none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? That takes care of the agenda. We've got council minutes for August 1st. Any concerns regarding those minutes? If not, we will acknowledge those as they've been prepared and go to the work session minutes for the 8th of August. Same thing there. Any concerns regarding those minutes? If there are not, we'll acknowledge those as well. And we'll go to the bills. I guess I'm having a hard time now that I'm seeing this. I'm having a hard time seeing the warrant register. Does everybody have that?
It's down the ways.
I've seen it, but I
have a hard
It's on
copy
the
if you need
top
it.
one, right?
oh, did I need to go?
She resent it to us with that. So you're going to go to the next email.
This one?
Nope,
This one.
that one, yep. That will be the correct one. I did the same thing.
Bear with me, I'm challenged. I've read it because I signed all the vouchers, I know, but I'm still not seeing it there. Have you got it? Have you got it? It warrant register?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I say, I've seen it, so I'm not, but I just don't have it right here in front of me right now. I've looked it over. Is there any concerns or comments? Yeah, let me just glance over it. Wonder why I'm not. I know it's my fault, whatever it is.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a hard copy. Do you want me to pass it down real quick?
You got it right there quickly. I just don't want to, I've read it, like I say, I've seen it, but I don't want to just not,
It's back here.
thank you.
That's why I print out everything.
That's a good
Because
idea.
I hope it's not,
There's right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Just give me 1 second, please.
No worries.
I do know that I had one question on it earlier and regarding some insurance that the city was paying, and Ms. Lim cleared that concern up for me. Any questions or concerns on the bills before we? Is there a motion to approve the bills?
Make that motion.
Mr. Lind. Motion, is there a second?
I'll go ahead and second that, Your Honor.
Purpose of the second. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That takes care of the bills. Council comments. Mr. Lynch, what do you have for us tonight?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Lynch?
Nothing this evening.
Burks.
I have nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Sellers.
If you haven't been down and seen the grandstands, they are nice, because I eat down on the East End several times a week, so does half the other town. But,
Thanks.
They're looking good. The pickleball courts are coming along good. We've got some good things happening. So I just wanted to bring up a couple things. School's getting close to starting. Kids are getting excited. They're out around for the last, so watch extra careful. Remind everybody that as we're getting into this year and things are changing, the need to be mindful of people who are suicidal and those who are down. Please be aware of them. And then my understanding is there was an accident on the way to State Fair yesterday that injured and killed Evanston resident, and my heart goes out to the family that was involved. So that's what I have.
Hagan?
As usual, thank you all for helping support the businesses on the old Lincoln Highway, like Councilman Sellers here. They need our support until we get those grandstands finished and the rodeo circuit back up and running. Also, I'd like to personally welcome Lisa Bowman to the community. She's been brought here, and she is our new social and media guru to help share all things wonderful Evanston throughout the world. So you'll be seeing her a lot more in the community.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing to add other than it's kind of nice to see the bleachers going up, and they're making pretty good progress on those. It's kind of fun to see them go up. Hopefully they'll all be done, and Cowboy Days and everything else will come off successfully. That's what we can all hope for. But other than that, we'll move on to public hearings and special orders. Our first item there is a public hearing to solicit comments regarding an annexation. Mr. Harris, I suspect you'll be our hearing officer?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. May it please council. Mr. Mayor, the first matter before the council tonight is a public hearing to determine if a proposed annexation requested by GTR Property Holdings, LLC, a Utah limited liability company, for lands located in the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 19 in Uintah County, Wyoming, meet the conditions of Wyoming Statute 15-1-405, and if the required procedures for annexation have been met. I will note for the record that notice of this public hearing was published twice in the Uintah County Herald, advertising the time and date of this hearing. Anyone who wishes to present any information to the council regarding this public hearing, would you please step to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and we will proceed with the hearing. Mr. Jacobson.
Can you hear me okay?
I don't think the microphone's on, though.
How about now? Yep. Okay.
Wired for sound now.
So early on, we reviewed a resolution to consider annexation of property along Wasatch Road, and that's that 1.62 acre piece that's highlighted. It's just located between Constitution Avenue and Independence Drive. It is an unplatted parcel. The property owner who has that parcel, as well as the T-shaped parcel that's located just to the right, and the larger area that was kind of slated for future development phases for the Purple Sage PUD development. As you can see, the first phase was developed in the upper right corner on Benjamin Franklin Street. So that's the property that we're looking at annexing. It is one of 4 islands that we have within the corporate limits of the city. With the annexation of this, it'll reduce it down to 3 other areas. Those other areas, we have one along Highway 150 and then 2. One you can see just to the right of the photograph there, and then there's a partial one that you can see in the lower left-hand corner of the photograph. So that was the map that we had sent out in our mailings. So I included a staff report in the council's packets regarding the public hearing. So there are some conditions that the city council will need to find for the annexation for the public hearing. So number 1, the annexation of the area is for the protection of the health, safety, and welfare of the persons residing in the area in the city. The urban development of the area sought to be annexed would constitute a natural, geographical, economical, and social part of annexing of the annexing city. Number 3, the area sought to be annexed is logical and feasible, and a feasible addition to the annexing city and the extension of basic and other services customarily available to residents of the city shall within reason be available to the area proposed to be annexed. The area sought to be annexed is contiguous with or adjacent to the annexed city. It's an island, as I mentioned before, within the corporate limits. If number 5, if the city does not own or operate its own electric utility, which we do not, its governing body is prepared to issue 1 or more franchises as necessary to serve the annexed area. And the last item, number 6, the annexing city, not less than 20 business days prior to the public hearing, has sent to all landowners and affected public utilities a summary of the proposed annexation report and a notice of time, date, and location of the public hearing. And I have included that letter that was sent out July 14th, 2023, that was sent to the property owners and the utility companies. So we have met that advertising requirement for this public hearing.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have no questions.
Is there anyone else present who wishes to address the petition? Anyone else present who wishes to address the petition? If not, does council have any questions?
I think I'm satisfied.
If not, the hearing will be closed on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is the consideration of a petition for call-up for further review of the action of the Evanston Planning and Zoning Commission on July 10. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This matter involves the filing of a petition for call-up and further review of the action of the Evanston Planning Commission on July 10, 2023, regarding CP 191, the application of Dominion Energy for a conditional use permit to allow a public utility use facility, services, and building at 209 Center Street. The Planning and Zoning Commission entered findings of fact, conclusions of law, and a decision in order granting the applicant a conditional use permit for the facility without conditions. Rayanne Page and specifically named individuals timely filed a petition to call up the commission decision for further review. The planning office, pursuant to ordinance, mailed the petition to each party who participated in the hearing, sent the findings and conclusions, and delivered copies of both to the city clerk. By law, the city council at its next regularly scheduled meeting, which is today, is required to consider the petition, the finding, and any oral statements, and decide whether to call up the decision for further review. The acceptance of a petition for further review requires the affirmative vote of at least 5 members of the city council. If such affirmative vote is made, the council will then set and advertise and conduct a public hearing on the petition for call-up and further review. Purpose of the matter before the council this evening is to consider whether or not to call up the matter for further review. It is not a hearing on the petition itself, and testimony and evidence is not considered at this point. If the petition is not called up, the action of the Planning and Zoning Commission will stand. Mr. Mayor, I also would like to note that Mr. Welling has declared a conflict in this matter. He resides within 300 feet of the subject property, and as such, he was specifically notified and has a personal interest under the Government Ethics Act, and has disclosed that interest and withdrawn from consideration in the matter. As I indicated earlier, any call-up action requires the vote of 5 of the council members, of course, including the mayor. Mr. Mayor, would the council like to take any oral statements regarding the petition tonight?
Well, thank you, Mr. Harris. I think obviously this is a serious issue for you folks, and I'm glad you're here. I'm glad that you've attended. As Mr. Harris mentioned, we won't hash out the details of this specific decision here tonight. The decision that we're faced with tonight is just simply to allow the call-up to happen, if it were, and then if that decision is made by this body, then a hearing will be scheduled, and then we'll have an opportunity to go through the issues in far greater detail. But having said that, I want to be respectful of all the individuals who are here tonight, but I don't want to get too far off in the weeds, because that's a meeting yet to be held. Tonight we're just deciding on the call-up itself. And so I guess my thinking is if on both sides of this equation, obviously there's two sides to this matter, and my thinking is, and perhaps you've kind of made some decisions prior to this meeting, but if maybe one individual from either side of this equation, if you have something that you, on behalf of the groups that you are a part of, if you have something specific that you would like us to consider before we make this decision here tonight, I'd welcome that, or at least entertain that notion if there's somebody that would like to represent each respective group, perhaps. If there's not, it's okay, but I want to give. Please, if you'll come up here, please.
I'm Rayanne Pace, so I'm the one who actually sent in the official appeal. But I've been working with many residents in our community. As you can see, as you look through the crowd, if people were even to stand in opposition, you would see probably half of the crowd here, as opposed to this building being built. For various reasons, there's a lot of, so it's a high consequence areas, basically things that if for any reason this malfunctioned, there could be lots of consequences due to that. So you have the daycare, the church, a 45 complex apartment building, and various residences. So the other 2 facilities that they have are all placed outside of city limits, 500 feet or more away from residences. And we have somebody that even has pictures of those, so you can kind of see that. But this facility that is currently at Tom's HVAC has failed in the past and required an evacuation of the community. So, and it's much smaller. It's a much smaller facility. So I really would appreciate it. I know you guys don't want to hear everything tonight, but if you would please just vote to hear us out as a community, because we really don't want this in our backyards. So if you could please put yourself in our shoes and not want this in your backyard, and just vote to hear us out, to just hear what we have to say, I would really appreciate it, and so would the community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Please, if you'll give us a name, sir.
Yeah, thank you. My name is J.D. Kessler. I'm an attorney for Dominion Energy Utah and Wyoming and Idaho. I understand we're not relitigating all of the facts from the conditional use permit hearing. And there have been there have been multiple points just now, and we addressed these at the conditional use permit hearing. First, she talks about high consequence areas. This is not a high consequence area. She talks about the others being outside of city limits, and while that might be accurate, the one that we are replacing is a few hundred feet from this facility we plan to build. Additionally, the capacity of the new reg station is lower than the capacity of the existing reg station. It's being put in because of technical requirements and how we operate facilities these days to make them even safer. The allegation that it's failed in the past, we tried to address that at the conditional use permit hearing. There's no evidence of that. We've gone back and looked as far as it being a failure. There are periodic times where gas has to be shut off. If there's a tear out, somebody's digging up a line, they break something. This is not shut because of this failure. These kinds of facilities are built all over the country by every gas company. If you were to go into metropolitan Salt Lake City, you would see buildings that are packed between apartment buildings, the same facilities. They're not unsafe. They are what is necessary for the distribution of natural gas in our communities. And that is the requirement of that's in your city code, that we have to show that we meet the purposes for a CUP, which is this the kind of facility that we need for our communities? That's exactly what they showed at the conditional use permit. I don't think the concerns that were raised here were addressed. The Dominion team put all their evidence on about that, and so there's just no reason why there would need to be a rehearing. I do think it's important that in the petition they have alleged that a member of the Planning Commission was, they used the words "in business" with Dominion. I don't know what that means. It's not true. The existing facility is on a location that was built in 1940. It was originally part of the Mountain Fuel Supply office. Mountain Fuel Supply changed its name to Questar Gas. Questar Gas now registered to do business as Dominion Energy, Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho. That facility was sold to, I believe, the previous owner, who may be a relative of the existing owner, and an easement was kept for the existing facility. It is true that when that facility is decommissioned, that easement by law will legally, discontinue. It will no longer exist. You abandon easements if you no longer use them. So while I suppose there may be an incidental benefit, that is a far cry from being, quote, in business with Dominion Energy. Be happy to answer any questions if you had any.
I have none.
I have a couple, because
Sure.
not knowing what I was looking for before, I'm kind of looking around. I have one right at the base of my street, up my neighborhood, and there's one over by the state hospital, I think. Mm-hmm. My question is why can't the existing one just be upgraded and made more efficient or whatever? That would be my number one question. And my number two question is, have you looked at any other alternatives? Those would be my two questions.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to have somebody from my team go into any details on that if you want. First, the existing site doesn't give us the size to build it to a modern spec. And the way the piping works in these, they are valves, keep in mind. This is not a facility where there aren't compressors, there aren't motors, there's not machinery operating. What happens is you have high pressure gas, which is currently flowing through that area. It flows through the town. And bigger, high pressure lines then run to these reg stations, which then pull gas out, reduce the pressure, and send it out in a lower pressure throughout the city streets, and then to your house. At your house, anybody who has natural gas service has a meter and a regulator on their house. That piece of equipment that's on the outside of your house is essentially the same thing as what we're building on a smaller scale. It takes it from the pressure that comes in at the street, which is 50 PSI, 45 PSI, and it reduces it down to kind of ounces of pressure that run into your house. So in order to upgrade it, that facility just doesn't meet any of the current modern specs. They want you to have a little bit more room. You want some room where you can pull a truck in, things like that, just to give a little bit more space. You had a second part of your question. Do we look at other locations? We looked at lots of other locations. The issue is these need to be located where the need is. Essentially, and I'm not an engineer, but the way the engineers basically draw a picture for me is, you can figure out where the pressure is, sort of going out through the system, and as you get in the outer edges of the influence of one of these reg stations, the pressure starts to drop. So on a cold day, when everybody's using gas, you will lose the ability to use gas at those locations. So those houses could go out. So the reg station has to be put in within a certain area that they do the math on to show where you're adding pressure to the system to fill up those low volume areas on a cold weather day. Additionally, in order to do it cost effectively, you want to have it close to the feeder lines that I talked about that bring in gas at a couple hundred pounds. And so when they do that, they have to it's sort of a math problem you have to do to figure out where are you in the low pressure system, where are you for the facility. This facility made a whole lot of sense because it is so close to the existing facility. It sort of checks all those boxes. Does that make sense?
And I appreciate that. I think what the purpose of our meeting here today is simply to decide whether or not we call up. Those are good questions, Mr. Sellers, but quite honestly,
not trying to step out. Yeah,
that's exactly what would be discussed
I just
at
need
the
enough
further so.
information to know if,
Yeah.
to make a decision.
Yeah, and we'll certainly have an opportunity to discuss this in far greater detail if it is called up, and that's the decision that's before us. That's the pressing decision.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm happy to talk about those things. I feel like that's probably, like you said, outside the lines of what is being decided. Dominion's position is simply that, if you read through the findings of fact, we've complied with the city code and complied with our obligations there. The allegation that we were somehow in business with someone and there was something improper is just not true.
I appreciate that. I don't know that I ever heard myself any necessary allegation. I've tried to kind of stay out of this issue until we have an opportunity, unless that opportunity, I guess, presents itself for us. I appreciate your position and a couple of things that I'll say, and then maybe we'll consider this action. I have a great deal of respect for the individuals that are in this audience and the concerns that they bring with them, each of them, and their lives and their properties. I have a great deal of respect for the members who sit on the Planning and Zoning Commission of the city. I appreciate that service greatly. That's oftentimes a thankless job, but in my mind, in both of those groups, the Planning and Zoning Commission as well as this, in my mind, the buck kind of stops here, simply because this is the body that's been elected to represent the community. And so, any other questions? And then I'll entertain a motion to. I'm sorry. Sure, please go ahead. That's fine.
Sorry. Okay, so I know you guys have probably seen where the location is now, and it's just like a little itty-bitty station. So what they're planning on building is much bigger, and it will have a heater and extra units also put on the property, and it's leaving a large footprint where other properties could be built in the future. And even with the one that they're planning on putting now, it says that there will be a permanent humming noise, but we won't be able to hear it inside our homes. But I like to be outside. I have a beautiful garden. I don't want to be stuck in my house. He also said they needed to be able to serve our community. I understand in Salt Lake or Ogden, you are just filled from one end to the other with big businesses and buildings. But here we are lucky enough that he could situate it to where it could service our community for many years to come, and it could be outside of city limits up by the state hospital. Their line already runs right through there. So they could put it somewhere. There's a lot of vacant properties that already are zoned commercial. So they did state the last time that it was 1/8 of the cost. Well, I'm sorry, but I don't think our families, you can put a price tag on that. So I would like them to look at other locations up by the state hospital where their line already runs, the high pressure line already runs. I know that they're planning on putting in a much bigger facility than already is current, and that's fine. We want them to put in a new facility that can service our community. We are not against gas. My husband's been in oil and gas his whole life, so not against that whatsoever. I'm just wishing that they would pick a different location that's not going to affect our families and our homes, our real estate, and everything like that. So if you guys could just hear us out, please.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I did mention earlier that the findings of fact and conclusions of law of the commission was entered and submitted to the clerk. The clerk also received a petition to call up commission decision for further review, and I think you all have that. That sets forth the specific grounds of Ms. Pace as she just the grounds for the call-up. So, and I did want to mention to everyone here that the council has the findings of fact with a full copy of the petition, which is 4 pages long.
Thank you. I think this is a serious issue. I don't want to make light of it, and I want to make sure that this is reviewed. For me, I want to make sure that it's reviewed thoroughly and completely. I'll entertain a motion to how do we do that? Just a motion to have it called up?
Yes,
Something
Mr.
like
Mayor, the chair, the mayor would entertain a motion to grant the petition for call-up and further review of the action of the Evanston Planning and Zoning Commission on July 10th regarding CP 191.
I'll entertain a motion relative to what Mr. Harris just relayed.
I'll make that motion, and I'm just going to add a caveat. With 9 years on the Planning and Zoning Commission, I don't like to feel like I'm ever second-guessing them because I know how seriously they take their job.
So noted. Is there a second to Mr. Seller's motion?
I have a question. So if we go forward with this, we get to hear from the public again, because I understand people have lives and they don't always read the paper, and they have kids and they have daycare and they have jobs, and where it's the attorney's job 24/7 to bring this to us. So the life exchange of, I often see that here where, you know, people catch on not quite ahead of the game. And so I would like to hear from them.
Is that a second?
Yes.
To Mr. Seller's motion?
Yes.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'd just like to make a couple comments. I understand the need for Dominion Energy and the need for gas. I appreciate everything Dominion does to provide natural gas to our community. I've also worked in the oil and gas industry my whole life, but I also sit up here and represent the people of our community. And I feel like if they feel like their voice needs to be heard, I don't think we're hurting anything by allowing this to be heard in front of this council and answer any more questions that need to be put forth. So that's the way I feel.
Further discussion? If there's none, all in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, that's called up. We'll set that hearing for,
Mr. Mayor, if I
please,
may.
please.
And we may need to have Mr. Jacobson help me with some dates. The code, the Evanston City Code, requires that a hearing be held within 30 days from today. My suggestion would be to the council If I have my meeting dates right, I believe September 12th is a Tuesday. That is a night that is set for a work session, right? The 5th of September should be our first meeting in September. I would suggest that, what did I say? Did I say 5th?
5th's the first Tuesday, 12th's the second.
Okay.
Yes.
So the second Tuesday should be the 12th, I hope.
Yes.
And I remember my dates right. I would suggest that the council set that date. I think in talking with Mr. Jacobson earlier today for notices, because we have to advertise and notify the hearing on the call-up just in the same manner that it was at the Planning and Zoning Commission level. So we have the newspaper advertisement, those named in the petition receive a print separate notice, and so in talking with Dwayne earlier, I think we can get all that done by the 12th of September and put that on as a special meeting for only this hearing. That would be my suggestion. So that would give everybody plenty of opportunity.
That would certainly work. Excellent. Is that something you can accomplish to help us, Mr.
That's
Jacobson?
correct. We can meet the advertising requirements for the September 12th
Okay.
special meeting on that day.
Okay. So I guess we can just set it for that date, and we're good to go until then.
September 12th, 5:30 p.m.?
5:30 p.m., September 12th. So we'll have a special hearing for this particular issue. So thank you all. We have no consent agenda. We do have some unfinished business. We have a liquor license transfer to consider. Is there anything we need to do before we just take it off the table?
Correct, Mr. Mayor. The motion should be to remove the matter from the table, and if that were approved, seconded and approved, that matter would then be would be automatically before the council on the original motion to approve the transfer of the license.
I'll entertain a motion to remove this transfer of ownership of a resort liquor license from Lynch Consulting and Investments, LLC, DBA Nights Inn, to Affordable Inns and Restaurants. I'll entertain a motion to remove that item from the table.
I'll make that motion to remove it from the table, sir.
Mr. Perks with a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sellers seconding. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor say aye. 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 Are there any opposed? Okay, that's removed from the table. Go
Now,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor, the matter is before the council. I believe you were in discussion, and so you're right back to where you were
Right where-
in July.
As I remember the discussion, it was two issues, and I think it was kind of relayed in a way that they were somehow connected. Upon further review, in my mind, I don't know that they really are, but I'll just entertain further discussion on the matter.
So do we have any resolution outside of this city council and between the two parties, any kind of resolution that we know of? Any kind of decision that we know of?
Can we hear that?
We were waiting on the finding from the court. There was a court date, so we were waiting on to hear what the findings of.
Is there any
we
new
hear that?
information?
Is there any?
Please, just come up here to the microphone, please.
Donna Tolson, and I spoke the last time I was here about the liquor license transfer. We did have the hearing on July 26th with all the attorneys and the judge, and nothing has been decided yet. We are going forward. The judge did not rule one way or another regarding the liquor license. Other things regarding the title and the deed to the property is what most of the hearing was about, but it was denied. Everything was denied. Nothing went forward. So I don't really know what is happening down at the Knights Inn. I think if Mr. Hazen wanted to bring everybody current, maybe you would like to hear from him.
Well, we can accomplish that, but when you say denied, what, I mean,
Well,
he didn't rule on anything.
He did not.
So he didn't deny anything, he just did.
Mr. Hazen's attorney tried to go forward with the deed, to clear the deed. The promissory note that has not been paid is clouding that deed.
Okay.
The liquor license transfer was not part of this hearing, so it was not discussed. The judge did not do anything regarding it. I think Mr. Hazen's attorney does know about it. I don't think Mr. Lynch's does, but maybe he does. I don't know.
Okay.
So
Well, unfortunately, they're not here to
I
tell
know
us.
that there is liquor being served at the premises, and there is no liquor license unless Mr. Lynch's transfer went through. That would give Mr. Hazen the go-ahead to serve the liquor. I have talked to a couple of people in Cheyenne. The state has issued that is okay to do, to transfer Lynch to Mr. Hazen. The city is what isn't doing what they need to do, because I protested the liquor license.
Okay,
So if you want to hear from Mr. Hazen,
we can do that, but I'll handle that, thank you. Senior, do you have anything you'd like to say, sir?
I'm glad to be back. Thank you all. So, it appears that if there's any problem, it's between Donna Tolson and Lynch Consulting LLC. I'm not part of that. I have a deed to the property. I have possession. I testified last time I was here under oath that I've had liquor licenses on and off for 40 years, and I've never had a violation, not one. I'm a real estate broker in 5 states for 43 years. I don't have not one violation. All I can say is that I'm clean, I'm honest, and I'm here to do business in Evanston, and looking forward to our license to be transferred for us tonight. If you have any questions, I'm open and ready for them.
Thank you, sir. We may.
My first question is could you be served by applying for any other type of liquor license other than trying to get this one transferred?
No, I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Could you benefit from applying for another type of liquor license other than trying to get this one transferred? Could you get a restaurant, bar and grill license? Could you?
It's a resort license, so it's not a retail license.
No.
So he could just apply for a new resort license and not transfer this one.
That's what I'm wondering. So, I mean, could you avoid all of this hassle of just applying for a...
There's no hassle. I mean, the judge ruled that there'll be a trial next year in July. And the judge also ruled that they would reconsider our quiet title motion after we have testimony and depositions from Ms. Tolson. And that probably will be sooner than July. We're involved in a litigation matter that has nothing to do with possession of the property because I have possession. I just want to be transferred the license so we can do business. If you notice our parking lot, we're busy. I do want to say this to everyone here. I have owned hotels for 40 years. When TripAdvisor came out, all of my hotels were #1. No kidding. So we run a good business. We don't play around. We're not afraid to spend money in the community, and we do. So I don't know what else I can say, except that what I'm telling you is the truth, the whole truth.
Your Honor.
I've got the question, can Lynch Consulting sell that license to you?
What now?
Can they legally sell that
They're
license?
not selling it. A resort license is different from a retail license. Retail licenses are sold. And
Okay.
they're worth a lot of money. A resort license is specific to, like, his
Type of
affordable-
business.
The type of business
Yeah.
has to have motel rooms, has to have food. The Dunmar and Legal Tender could be a resort, but they're a retail liquor license. So he's not buying the license from Dennis Lynch. There's no exchange of money. It's just transferring it from Lynch Consulting to his business.
Can he do that? Can he legally do that?
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Do we have a limit on the amount of resort licenses? So, I mean, when we're sitting here talking about this is not a money exchange.
No, it's
And it's
not.
not like this is the only licenses available,
No.
right? This is nothing against you, it's more me gaining knowledge about the whole situation. So, because I've seen too many situations with retail liquor licenses that hold a lot of value that have been transferred that probably shouldn't have been transferred, or it was a little funny business when they were transferred. But that was a retail license, so I'm just understanding the difference between a resort license, retail license, bar and grill license, how many there are, like where we actually sit on this situation.
Mr. Harrison, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. After, of course, when this came before the council, I think on July 5th, Ms. Kirby was the city attorney at that time. And when I saw that this matter had been tabled, I contacted the 3rd Judicial District Court and asked the court for a copy of what had occurred on the July 26th. There was a hearing on July 26th. Judge Castee entered an order denying Gibraltar Lending LLC, who was the plaintiff in that case, a motion for judgment on the pleadings against Ms. Tolson. There are two parts to this litigation. There's litigation between Gibraltar Lending and Ms. Tolson, and then there is what we call a third-party claim by Ms. Tolson against Mr. Lynch, Lynch Consulting and Investments, and 212 Investments LLC, another limited liability company. So there are two things going on. The judge denied a motion for a judgment on the pleadings, and as this individual just stated to the council, set a trial date for, I believe it's next July. And I can tell you July 15th, 5-day jury trial beginning at 9 a.m. Now, in the order that I read, the liquor license is not mentioned. It's not part specifically of the litigation. The license at issue is a resort license. They are unlimited. The city of Evanston could issue 100 resort licenses. However, under Wyoming statutes and our city code, the restrictions on resort licenses come from the facilities you have to have. You have to have a facility with a minimum assessed valuation, a fair market value, of $1 million or more. You have to have a facility that has at least 100 guest rooms, and you have to have convention facilities for at least 100 people. Now, if you look around the city of Evanston, there are probably 2, maybe 3 facilities that meet those requirements. And one of them may have been the Days Inn. In fact, I think years ago it did have a resort license. The other one is the Legal Tender Dunmore. So we have one resort license issued, and it's this one. Realistically, the difference between a resort, they call them resort retail, but it's a resort license, is that because they're unlimited in number, their value is what you pay for them, $1,500. Because if a transfer of a resort license were denied, the applicant could go turn around tomorrow and file an application for a new one. So
10 times the cost.
Pardon?
No.
10 times the cost.
No, $1,500.
The same then.
The same.
So The important thing with this license is he's already done all the paperwork, done all the transfer, paid the publishing fee, it's been in the newspaper. I sent it into the Liquor Commission, they okayed it. If this license doesn't get passed, he can still get one. He would just have to start from square one. As if it's voted, if you vote for transferring this license, then we can get his business up and going.
And I think the telling thing for me is the fact that the district court judge in this case saw that they were separate. It seems to me that they were absolutely separate.
And Mr. Mayor, all I can answer that is because wasn't involved, is that there's nothing in the order that prohibits a transfer or mentions a liquor license at all.
So just to clarify, you answered all my questions before I got to it. But the reason this was tabled was because we wanted to, hear more about this. And because of, as Jesse brought up, past liquor license transfers that didn't quite go over so well. This one has no chance of blowing up in our face, is what I'm hearing. Because it's but in July, when the trial is through, this isn't going to come back like the other ones did, correct?
Mr. Mayor? Please. Ms. Hageman, I don't know how to answer the question, is it going to blow up? But I can tell you what will have to happen in the meantime. If the transfer were approved, immediately what you're going to have to see is an application for renewal, because we're in the renewal phase, and in fact, we'll have a renewal hearing in October? September, because our renewals are all based on an October through September time period. Yep. So if the transfer is approved, and even if it weren't approved, if a new license were sought and approved, depending on the timing of the new license, we would be then into the period of October 1 of 2023 through the end of September 2024, which then straddles that period of when the trial is.
So if we denied this, he wouldn't be able to sell liquor at his business or serve it until he got a new license. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor,
It'd be affecting his ability to do his business.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Perks, that's correct.
Just making sure I understood.
It's been approved by the Liquor Commission already.
I'll entertain a motion to approve this liquor license transfer.
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Well, I guess we already have a motion, a second. You've already made that motion, and you seconded it already. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Now we just need to vote.
Further discussion? If there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Are there any opposed?
Nay.
Mr. Lynch voting, is that right?
Correct.
Mr. Lynch was a nay vote there, and everybody else was ayes. Is that correct?
I would like to say that I'm glad we tabled it, because I got a lot more questions answered. I got a lot more clarity on how we're maybe affecting a business, affecting other things, affecting a trial. So I don't feel bad that we tabled it. But at the same time, as we examine all of these different things, I think we're fine to approve it.
Agree.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, sir. We're done here.
So we're set?
It is a done deal.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Hopefully that's good for, eventually good for all of you. I hope that all works out for the best for everybody. I know this is a difficult situation, but from my perspective, they're unrelated. Thank you. We'll now go to new business, and we'll start there with ordinance 2305. Mr. Harris, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members of the council, ordinance 23-05 is an ordinance of the city of Evanston, Wyoming, annexing the real property, more particularly described herein, as requested in the petition to annex submitted by GTR Property Holdings, LLC, a Utah limited liability company. This is before the council on first reading, and it requires a sponsor, Mr.
I'll sponsor, Your Honor.
Okay. Perks will be our sponsor.
Sponsored by Mr. Perks.
Mr. Perks. Mr. Jacobson, let's let him explain to us. You have...
Yeah, the only piece that I'd like to add with this is we did a similar annexation just a little bit west of this parcel here a little while ago, and we did we gave the person 5 years to extend services into the parcel that they had, and the owner of this property is requesting a similar type of thing, so that will be something that Public Works and that will work with the owner on. I do understand that the father, possibly of the applicant, had made the trip up here. I'm not sure. Maybe he's not here. I was going to give him a chance to say something if he wanted to, but that's it.
I appreciate that. Honestly, I think this is an opportunity to kind of clean. This is an interesting situation that occasionally raises its ugly head, I guess is the way I say it, because it's an island within the city. It's completely encircled by the corporate limits, and this is just an island within it. And it poses a lot of issues this way for a variety of issues, law enforcement as well. So in my mind, I would love to see all of these kinds of situations cleaned up. It would make it cleaner in my mind for the property owners as well as the city. So I think it's a great idea myself. We've got a sponsor. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2305 on first reading.
I'll introduce with a motion to pass.
Mr. Sellers with a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lynch, seconding. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved on first reading. Thank you. Resolution 2359. Mr. Harris will read that title for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2359, a resolution of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, authorizing the execution of a joint funding agreement with the United States Geological Survey, the United States Department of the Interior, for the operation and maintenance of a stream gauge station on Bear River.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
I was hoping this was the reason everyone was here tonight, but I guess not. This is just an annual agreement with the USGS to fund the stream gauge that's in the river over here near Rips and the Recycle Center. We use that often, the data for the flood stage of the river and various readings, and we help the USGS fund that because of the data that we collect off of there. So just an annual agreement for that.
Seems like we do this every year.
Yep.
It seems like. Yes. Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce with a motion to pass.
Mr. Lynch, motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Your Honor.
Mr. Perks, seconding. Any discussion? There's no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved.
Do we
Thank
ever
you.
get to see the stream flows just for fun?
What's that?
Does the council ever get to see those stream flows just for fun?
Yeah, I was going to say, I've watched and looked at them on the internet before. That's kind of interesting how much water flows through town on a daily basis.
Drainage.org has the entire river stream and gates all along it. Has the reservoir levels to the reservoir that's on it.
Thank you. Resolution 2360. Mr. Harris, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2360, a resolution approving and authorizing the final plat for the Gines Estates Addition, a subdivision within the city of Evanston, Wyoming, as more particularly described herein.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Jacobson.
Yes. So the Gines Estates Edition is 200 Gannett Drive. It's highlighted on the map. It is Lot 4, Block 1 of the Chaparral Estates, subdivision number 4. As you can see, it's located just west of the Evanston Regional Hospital, so that'll give you an idea of the lot that we're looking at. So on that lot, There is an existing foundation that was poured some years ago. The house was never constructed on it. The original property owner sold it to another person who is proposing to do a duplex home on this lot. And to do that, our code requires that each unit be placed on its own lot. So that's the purpose behind splitting this lot. There is a minimum lot size requirement for each dwelling unit in this zone. This zone property is zoned medium density residential. There is, like I said, a minimum lot size requirement of 3,000 square feet per dwelling unit. Each lot that they are proposing does exceed that minimum 3,000 square feet threshold, so it does meet the city code requirements as far as lot size goes. There's an existing utility easement that was platted as part of the Chaparral Estates 4th edition. That is highlighted in the orange or reddish color around the west, north, and east perimeter of the lot. This subdivision proposes to keep the same utility easement intact. There is a new utility, or not a utility easement, but a parking easement. So our city code requires that there be 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit. With the addition of the dwelling unit that they're proposing on Lot 1B, Lot 1A will have a 2-car garage, and they were unable to meet the off-site parking requirements on Lot 1B. So our city code allows it to be located on an adjacent lot so long as it's within a certain footage from the lot that it serves, which this does meet. That blue greenish shaded area along the north side of Lot 1A of Block 1 of the subdivision is proposed to serve the parking needs of Lot 1B. That you can park, once the parking requirements are met for off-site parking, you can park additional cars within the front yard, the driveway area in the front yard. So what they're proposing there, it does, I believe, does comply with the requirements of our city code regarding parking. Let's see. Our utility providers have reviewed the subdivision. They have no concerns with the split that's being proposed. The City Public Works Department has reviewed this request, and they have 5 comments that they have provided. That's listed in the staff report, and that I can go through each one of those if you'd like. But, a lot of those carry into the recommendation. So the City Subdivision Review Committee, like I said, and city staff have reviewed it. This represents the recommendations of the City Subdivision Review Committee and staff. So staff recommends approval of the Giants Estates addition. There are, we suggest some conditions on the approval of that. And number 1 will be the new water and sewer service shall be installed per the direction and approval of the City Public Works Department. Tap fees will need to be collected for the additional taps. Sewer and water services for the additional dwelling unit shall be extended into the lot prior to the city signing the final plat. Each unit shall have its own trash can. Certified reproducible Mylar copy of the final plat will need to be provided to the City Engineering and Planning Department, and when we receive that, building permit will be able to be issued for number 5.
Okay, thank you. Is there any introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce with the motion to pass.
Mr. Sellers' motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Lynch, seconding. Discussion.
Seems like I'd like to see the floor plan, because that seems interesting, to say the least. I don't know what they're...
We'll have to get inventive. Luckily enough, they're not going to come to us and ask us how to do it.
Yeah. Well, that seems very interesting, but, I mean, it looks like everything meets code, right?
I spoke with the city building official, and he said what they will need to do is do a fire separation wall from the basement floor level all the way up to the roof, so
And that
to make
wall-
that separation.
And that wall will run along that lot line in the middle there, right?
Yeah, that separating wall between the firewalls and that will be the property boundary between the two.
It's a flashback to the early 80s.
That neighborhood has some interesting homes already.
Yeah.
That's another Twin Ridge situation right there. Okay.
Okay. Further discussion? If there is none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacobson. Resolution 2361. Mr. Harris, read that title for us, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Resolution 2361 is a resolution of the City of Evanston, Wyoming, authorizing the acceptance and execution of a grant agreement with the United States of America through the Federal Aviation Administration to obtain grant funds to update the airport master plan for the Evanston, Uintah County Airport Burns Field. This resolution requires introduction and a motion to pass.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Welling, welcome.
Thank you. Gary Welling, representing the Evanston, Uintah County Airport Joint Powers Board. I'm the administrator for that board. This is a grant offer from the FAA for $186,000 and $186,392 to go towards our master plan that is required by the FAA every 10 to 15 years. It's been about 13 since we've had a master plan update up at the airport. They're willing to fund it this year. Our match for that is a 4% match. It's a 90-10 with YDOT providing 6% and the city and the county providing that other 4% through the Joint Powers Board. So this is just a part of the master plan grant. There'll be some other grants coming to finish funding this master plan, and those will come in the next few weeks. So you'll see me again at probably your next meeting as well. This is I don't know what else to say. The Joint Powers Board went out for consultants for our engineering and our planning as per the FAA guidelines. They picked TO at the time. Now they've been acquired by Adura. Those contracts continue with Adura, bigger company, but same personnel's handling our engineering and our planning purposes for the airport. Do you have any questions?
Assuming the county commissioners have been presented this?
Yep, at 2 o'clock today they did. They approved.
Gary, would you mind reading this 37-page document?
Sure. What time was it?
Mr. Mayor?
Number one.
To prove the adage that the more things change, the more they stay the same, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Mr. Welling sent this to me today and said, you know, the FAA is requiring signatures by August 31st, and it did. And I opened up this 37-page document that Councilmember Lynn just referred to, and the first thing that caught my eye is this: you may not make any modification to the text, terms, or conditions of the grant offer.
Bureaucracy.
Well, they're making you an offer you can't refuse.
Well, In a way, I guess if you don't approve it, you don't get the money.
Yeah, that's true.
Simple as that. If you want to boil it down to...
They're pretty good grants as far as the match.
And we've utilized this grant
Over and over and over and over.
many, many times, so...
Yeah, lots of millions of dollars have gone to our airport, and it's getting to be a nice place up there, so.
That's the way the federal government just sign it. Sign it, send it back.
We're the government,
Say
here
thank
to help
you.
you.
Sadly, but thank you. Is there an introduction on this resolution?
I'll introduce with a motion to pass.
Julian, with a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Simon seconding. Any discussion? I'm sorry.
Call it a Model T grant. You can have it in any color you want as long as it's
As long
black.
as it's black. There's no further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? That's approved.
Just as a side note, this will come as an e-sign document, as you know, in the years past. You will sign it. As soon as you sign it, it'll go to the attorney, Mr. Harris. As soon as he signs it, it'll go to Mark Anderson as the county attorney, or county commission, and then it'll go to our attorney in the county, so. Thank you.
I did see the email on my phone, so I'll get it signed and get it off to you. Thank you. Comments from departments? Let's see, Ms. Lim, you're right there close. Anything? Mr. Robinson?
No, sir.
Larson? Welcome. Chief Ranish?
No, sir.
Barker?
Yeah, I just want to point out the station that Gordon's talking about. We can log on and measure that's where it's located. We can measure the flow. It predicts the next 5-6 days of what the flow is going to be in the river. So it's super valuable. Mr. Burke said you can log on and get this whenever you want.
Oh, I plan on that.
Excellent. I've seen that before. It's, like I say, it's really kind of remarkable, truly speaking, how much water flows through the community, even in the low months, even in the late fall or even in the winter months. Sometimes it's
In the spring, we'll have peaks and valleys every 12 hours.
Undoubtedly.
Based on the weather.
Yeah.
It's coming down the mountains.
yeah.
Does it show where the fish are jumping?
Yeah. Ms. Harris, anything for us? Mr. Harris, do you have anything for us?
Oh, Your Honor.
Excellent. Public participation. Is there anyone here from the public who would like to address the council for any reason? Please.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I just have a small request in regards to the Dominion Energy issue. I know it's scheduled for September 12th, the work session. We don't typically record those meetings. It seems like it's such an important issue to the community. I thought maybe we'd make an exception and record that one so it can be posted on Facebook.
We will consider that. Thank you. I don't know if we'll make that decision.
I know.
I appreciate the input. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Well, if nothing else, we'll adjourn.